so don't rush.
Yeah.
No, we'll be able
I
to.
know, I said we're gonna have to postpone a couple things, so. Well, give me just a minute
Have
then.
to. Who is on? Where's the name?
That was quite a weird feeling in the office today with so many people.
Feel like COVID?
I felt it. Gosha was traveling last week in Poland, sick.
It's a nice way to come back.
We
But
can get it on.
don't you always assume that
Oh,
now?
it's so easy to get stuff.
No, it's me. Do you currently not view it?
I'll call this meeting of the General Government Finance Committee to order at 5:33. This meeting has been given public notice in accordance with section 19.83 and 19.84 Wisconsin statutes in such form that will apprise the general public and news media of subject matter that is intended for consideration and action. Roll call. All members are present. And we'll move on to citizen input. Is there anyone wishing to come forward for any public comment? If so, please, afternoon. Please keep your comments to 4 minutes.
Melanie Smythe, N140W17938 Cedar Lane. Good evening. Excuse me, I have a slight frog in the throat. So I'm talking tonight, not necessarily about anything that's on your agenda, but just something to think about for the village board meeting and future development decisions. We have an agenda item on the village board meeting, which is Flamingo Marine. And it appears to have popped out of nowhere. And it's just there. But at the last Economic Development Committee meeting, we actually had Christian from the EDWC, the Washington County Economic Development Commission, come and talk to us about this. And his explanation about why it should move forward was the most clarity that I'd heard about anything to do with closing the TIDs. And that is that this particular item will fill one of the buildings. There will be 2 other buildings that will have vacancies. And until those vacancies are filled, probably the last building in the TID 8 area won't get started. And once that last building has been started and opened and starting to be filled, then we can actually close that TID. So it was, it just seemed like, if you look at the packet from EDWC, that it took a long time for the information to come forward, to be in the ethosphere of Germantown people. And I'm suggesting that in future, that when those kinds of things come forward regarding TIDs and potential development agreements, that they come to this body initially or early on in the process so that you can provide input on the development agreements and understand it so that you guys can explain to the rest of the committees what is going on, because we just literally, this has literally just come about in the last couple of months. And I think this is part of the issue, the communication issue that we have surrounding TIDs, is that people don't really understand how they work. They certainly don't understand how they close. And we do have an opportunity to change that by the activity of this Flamingo Marine coming forward. I wasn't sure about it, but now I think we just need to go forward with it, because we need to get close to closing these TIDs. And so I'm suggesting that part of the changes in the process that are made for whoever ends up being the administrator, I see that on the next village board meeting, we're talking about a new one, that is part of a development process, that we have early reviews of what happens with these development agreements, so you can put feedback in, so that other people on other committees can do the same. Those are my comments. Thank you.
All right, thank you for your comments. Is there anyone else wishing to come forward? I don't think there's anybody else here. Okay, let's move on to, excuse me, consent agenda. Yeah, that's just one item, meeting minutes of January 19th, 2026.
Move approval of the minutes from January 19th.
I'll second.
We have motion, any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Move on to new business item A, Tyler Technologies Annual ERP Service Agreement.
Anybody here for that? Is
It's
that a
not,
Matt then?
this is our annual agreement. This is a budgeted item. I don't know when it is due.
Who would normally talk about this?
Matthew would normally talk about it.
Does he have to be here to talk about it if you do?
Right,
Okay.
I don't want to talk.
All right, then I make a motion to postpone this to next month's meeting. Is that what we do?
Yep.
I'll second.
We have motion to postpone. Any discussion?
I just noted that the information that we did get, which was just a itemized invoice, basically.
Mhm.
It was received on the 17th of January, so it's pretty new.
It looks like it's overdue already. Due date was January 14th, 2026.
Gee, you think they'll fire
And
us?
this is, no,
We-
but this
we
is our,
received it
this is our annual
17th.
thing. I mean, you guys want to postpone it, that's fine. I don't have an issue with approving this. It's a budgeted item. But if you want to postpone, that's still, we'll take a vote. All in favor of postponing, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Aye. Motion carries to postpone. All right, item B, this could be a very short meeting. This is item access to Tyler Munis reporting functionality. This is something that Matthew was also going to talk about. This was requested by Jan Miller to be put on, and what the capabilities would be for a view-only type reporting access for the members of this committee and possibly the village board. So unfortunately, we're going to have to postpone that as well.
Do we have to vote on that or can we just?
There's no vote. There was just a discussion on what's possible. Matthew is going to bring some ideas along for that.
So should we make a motion to postpone?
It wasn't an action item.
Oh, for
I just
action.
asked.
Not an
Got
action
it.
item. So we will put it on the next agenda for sure.
Okay.
Item C, an ordinance amending section 1.379, subparagraph 2 of the Germantown Municipal Code relating to the membership of the Economic Development Commission. And Attorney Sajak's coming up, I'm assuming, to talk about this.
Sure, although I probably could have talked a little bit about the last item as well, but nonetheless, the ordinance before you is pretty simple. All it does is adds 2 members to the Economic Development Commission. The change is done in part to reflect the kind of broad scope of the EDC and the various activities they have going on, gives them a little bit more flexibility. In addition, President Soderberg has identified 2 business leaders within the community that have expressed some interest on being on the EDC as well. And so looking to get them involved in the community as part of that. So.
I'll move approval.
Well, second for discussion.
All right, we have a motion to approve. Discussion. Trustee Jan Miller?
Yes, sorry. I brought this, this item, the, walking quorum. I'm sorry, I have a frog in my throat. The walking quorum was, something that came up in Economic Development Committee. So at that meeting in November, Mr. Krecklow came up and was trying to explain it. And, or I'm sorry, first, Clerk Maddie came up, or she explained what was on the agenda. And it was your diagram of the quorums. And we asked about the walking quorum and nobody understood it. We had a lot of questions. And it seemed like there was a disconnect between Mr. Krecklow and Maddie about what was right and what was wrong. So how this started was I asked for explanation for you to come to the Economic Development Committee and to explain and answer our questions so that we would be working as a committee of 7 to go ahead and continue working without a walking quorum. So that's how this started.
What does this have to do with the walking quorums?
It's about the walking quorum.
Well, that's why you're adding them?
Yeah, so I don't so
It's part of the reason.
Part of the reason.
the negative quorum, thank you, sorry. The negative quorum. So now we're trying, the explanation is we're trying to avoid the negative quorum. And I just don't understand. The other thing is, it was brought up at Economic Development Commission, and we really want to understand before we change an ordinance. It seems like we're coming to the GGF where we haven't even explained it to the commissioners that asked the question in the beginning. And then there are a whole bunch of other questions that follow that. So I would like to bring this back to the Economic Development Commission and make sure that we get the answers for negative quorum, walking quorum, or whatever kind of quorum they have based on the information that you gave us. And that is what we've had. That's what we've been working with for, I don't know, 15 years, something like that. We just on the Economic Development Commission got enough commissioners to fill the board. We have 7 commissioners now, and it seems to be working well. So in order for us to move forward, we need to present it to the Economic Development Commission.
Sure. My only response to that would be, obviously, I'm happy to come before just the Economic Development Commission to do that. As we've talked about, your regular meeting nights conflict with my regular council meeting nights over in Mequon. And so we need to address that. One of the things that you were part of a discussion, along with President Soderberg and Mr. Krecklow, was the idea that we would do a kind of general presentation on all things open meetings, talk about the law, talk about negative quorums, walking quorums, all of those things, which we've been working to get scheduled. I think we have finally selected a date, which will be the 12th of March. So coming up here pretty quickly, just 2 days after the next EDC commission meeting, I believe. So we're looking to do that. The benefit to that as well will be that we'll look to record that presentation, which is something that we didn't do the last time we did a similar presentation a number of years ago, so that anybody who's not present, or anybody who wants to, be a new member, new trustee, for example, gets elected, they'd be able to go to that video and watch that, at their convenience. So we're looking to do that. So again, happy to come to the EDC specifically as well, but everybody on the EDC will be invited to that particular presentation.
Well, we requested it, so the nice thing about you switching companies, Brian, is that you have other people. Would you be able to send someone else to do the presentation on your behalf or video it and then just present it?
Yeah. I mean, certainly we can send somebody else to the EDC if that's the discussion. Again, I thought we were all kind of in agreement that we would just do a general one for everybody instead of coming just to the EDC. But if the EDC continues to want somebody
have-
there, that's
yeah.
fine.
What day would that be?
What day?
Were you proposing?
Well, the general,
Or
the
presentation.
general one that we're going to do for all boards, commission members, and committee members will be on the 12th of March. So just coming up here a little less than a month.
Which is,
It's a Thursday night.
Yeah, it's been a couple of years since we did anything like that, some education when it comes to negative quorums, walking quorums, that type of thing.
go ahead.
Yes,
Just a
Terry.
comment, our insurance company used to do that for us at our request,
Right.
whatever, and they would come, it was a great presentation. They might even have something recorded, I don't know, which they do for,
Oh.
I don't know if it's free, I think it is.
Yeah, I think that was the one we were still with the league.
Yeah.
We're now with CivMIC, which I think does lots of training. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that they have anything specific to open meetings type things. But
Yeah, I had to sit through at least 3 of them, I think.
Okay,
So what do we want here? I mean,
I want to
confused.
see a presentation and understand. And,
Well, that's a portion. I mean, that's not the topic at hand, which is changing the ordinance, not talking about a walking quorum or a negative quorum.
that's the reason that the ordinance is being
Well, that's
changed.
one of them. President
No,
Soderberg wants
it's-
to make some comments.
Good evening. Good evening and thank you. The reason why this is on the agenda, when I was working with trustee Rick Miller and Administrator Krecklo last week, we put this on the agenda because of what trustee Jan Miller brought up months ago was a negative quorum. I heard from no less than 3 EDC commissioners that they can't talk outside of their meetings about topics that may or may not be on the agenda. Because there will always be a walking quorum, a negative walking quorum. We have it on a lot of the committees and the commissions, but because I heard from no less than 3 commissioners, one of you, trustee Jan Miller, one is right behind me, and 2 other commissioners as well. So there's 4 that have talked to me saying our hands are tied. We can't talk about anything outside of an official EDC meeting. So I said to our village attorney, what can we do to bridge that gap? Because apparently based on the legal opinion of our village attorney, there is a negative walking quorum when 2 commissioners talk outside of a commission meeting. There is also conflicting information from trustee Jan Miller from the Washington County Clerk about walking quorums, which I didn't see anything in that deck that you sent today, and thank you very much, about a negative walking quorum. I really don't care what the Washington County Clerk says. I care what our village attorney says, his professional legal opinion. So to bridge that gap of commissioners being able to talk outside of the committee or commission meetings, we thought, let's expand the committees or the numbers from 7 to 9, unlike or like what the village board is. We have 9 members on the village board. A very simple solution. We have 2 leaders in the community that have an interest in joining the committee, which I think would be great. I don't want to do anything yet to start the background screening on them, but the first step is to do what we're doing tonight. Simple thing, but because it's not just impacting the EDC, it impacts all the committees and the commissions. Village attorney is going to put on a training seminar for us. I don't care what you do. You could, if you want to wait until that's over with, if you want to wait until it goes to the EDC, which I think is a total waste of time because we're going to be doing training anyway, I don't care. I'm just trying to meet the needs of 4 EDC commissioners that have reached out to me. So thank you very much. Thank you.
And that bridges the gap
What's that?
from 7 to 9. So 2 people cannot talk without having a negative impact on the committee.
Correct. Basically, what the open meetings law says is that anytime you have a quorum of members without a notice, publicly noticed meeting, you're in violation of the open meetings law. The concept of a negative quorum arises because of some of the case law that exists, the Showers case in particular. What the Showers case is that was the first case that really kind of talked about walking quorums in any sort of depth. And what Showers basically says is that a walking quorum is where you've got different groups of people that are kind of meeting individually that are maybe less than a full quorum of the body, but are nonetheless forming some coalition to take some action that the governing body will ultimately take, or not necessarily the governing body, but the body that's involved will ultimately take. And what Showers says is that anytime you get sufficient members together to dictate the course of action of that body, you're also in violation of the open meetings law. The challenge with that language is that there are certainly instances where by virtue of the number of people on any particular body, it basically means you can't have anybody talking outside of the meeting where you're trying to decide, hey, this is what the body's going to do, because if you do that, you are in violation of that Showers test because you're able to dictate what happens. And that's what we call the negative quorum, because it's something that's less than a full quorum, but in the right circumstances, you potentially could still take action or block action typically.
Or affect the vote.
To affect the vote. And so the piece that we as municipal practitioners always struggled with a little bit was the idea of, when you calculate the negative quorum, do you base it on the full membership of the body, assuming that everybody's going to be at every meeting and going to vote on every item, or do you base it on a pure minimum quorum that shows up at a meeting and then you take action? My advice has always been, do your calculation based on that lower number, because that's the way you save yourself that's the least risky way to get yourself a call from the district attorney that says, hey, we've got a complaint. I don't know whether or not the courts ultimately will agree with that analysis, or the analysis that says that you base it just on the standard quorum that's there. But what I can tell you is that there was a Court of Appeals case a couple of years ago, 2018 now, I think it is, that came out of Dane County. And that was a case that involved a question of a particular board member there sending one-way messages to other people. Hey, I think we should all vote this way based on X, Y, and Z reasons. After the vote failed, he then sent a message to some of his constituents that said basically, hey, we lost some people that I thought we were going to have, and it's unfortunate that we weren't able to get this action taken. To which the folks on the other side said, well, what do you mean you lost some votes? That sounds a lot like you got together and dictated the course of action outside of a meeting, so there's a meetings violation. So the court analyzed really whether or not those direct communications ultimately could be, considered as part of a walking quorum. The problem is that there's a what we would call dicta, or effectively a throwaway line within the decision, where the court just says, well, and besides, even in this case, he only talked to like a quarter of the people who ultimately voted on this thing instead of basing it on the full membership. So we at least have one Court of Appeals district in Wisconsin, and there's 4 that are at least suggesting that they might look at what the actual voting membership was. And so you should always base it on the assumption that something less than the full quorum could potentially be present and voting. You may have abstentions, you may have absences. And so that true negative quorum based on that bare minimum seems to be the best approach in light of that decision. But it's not to say that is or is not the case. And so with a body of 7, which is what the EDC is, your quorum is 4, basically 3.5, you round up. So your quorum there is 4. And if you have 4 members, 2 members can block any action because a 2-2 vote ultimately is a tie. And so under the theory that you base it on that pure lowest level of what's there, 2 members together shouldn't be talking together because that's a clear violation of the open meetings law. If you base it on the broader full membership of the body, where you have 7 members that are voting, if you have 3 members that get together, those 3 members can't block action of the full body. And so in that case, under that theory, 3 members could arguably get together and talk and do things outside of a meeting without any problems. But the question ultimately is, which is everybody more desiring to do? And it doesn't need to be a decision that the board makes for everybody else. Every individual member of a body is going to have different levels of comfort with, what is the law? What are my risks? What are we looking at? My recommendation is the recommendation that is most likely going to be sure to keep you from getting a call from the district attorney's office that says, hey, we need to talk.
Trustee Kaminsky.
If I understand this correctly, this could be a problem obviously for any committee.
Yes.
But somehow we manage on Public Works, for example, to never talk about anything, ever, until we get to the committee meeting. Any committee I've ever been on in this village, I've had no discussion about any issue or any topic, because that's why we have these meetings, to have it clearly in front of the public, whether we agree or disagree about things. So why is this so different? Why help me understand why on the Economic Development Committee, you'd have to talk about things outside of that committee meeting.
You're absolutely right. I don't discuss the meetings, especially anything on the agenda prior to, especially here. That's for sure a negative quorum. I think this one's different because economic development, to me, would have a benefit in a couple people discussing outside of the meetings. That's the difference here, is that their purpose is completely different than what our purpose is.
Okay.
And because of that, I think that makes sense to have a high enough membership that it would not affect a walking quorum or a negative quorum, whichever word you want to use, with 2 members discussing.
Follow up. I see your point on that, and I really don't have a problem with it. It's not a standing committee, obviously, so their action has to come before the village board anyway, as long as it would remain that way, and in this ordinance it does.
Does that matter, Brian, about the effect or what their purpose is?
It does to me.
Well, it may. I think that the answer to your original question, and Trustee Miller, obviously Jan Miller, can jump in and explain as well. But the way I see it is that Economic Development Commission is a little bit different than most of our other commissions, which are really more policy making or decision making type bodies. Whereas the Economic Development Commission, at least in its current form, really is more of a hands-on working type committee. They're dealing with doing some of the what do we call it, Jan? The Celebrate Germantown, the videos, that are part of that.
Yeah, we're
There's
not
some
gonna
other,
do that, but
Okay,
some other things that the
Operation
commissions-
Storefront.
Right. That is has a little bit more hands-on in terms of they're actually doing the work
And I
instead of
get
making
that.
a policy.
And I don't know, but I really don't have a problem with that. I'm kind of right on the fence here. But then, my other question, totally unrelated, it took a long time to get 7 members on this committee.
Right.
What
Yes.
makes us think if we put 9 in the ordinance that we're always going to have 9? Is there a loophole there? If we don't have 9, we can still function?
So I think that the answer is that, and I certainly would not speak ill of anybody, but it reflects a difference in the desire of the president to fill positions. President Walter, it was not a huge push for him. It was somewhat of an inactive committee to begin with. And so it wasn't a big push for him to try to fill that particular committee, whereas he did try to fill other committees on the regular basis. President Soderberg, on the other hand, clearly values the Economic Development Commission, sees value in it, and so he's been good about filling the position. And we see that in all of our communities. The governing executive, whether it's the mayor or the village president, has their interest in terms of which committees they try to fill and which ones, sometimes languish. That's just kind of how it works, unfortunately.
So I have a question. 2 people are up in April, Joletta and Scott. Scott's running for District 1 trustee. So if he gets elected, he can be on here as a trustee because Kristen will be off. She's not running again. So you do have 2 positions up. So, I mean, we don't know, I guess Joletta might go again, but we don't know what's going to happen with Scott. So then you could be filling another position right away, plus the 2 people you're bringing on. So I mean, 3 people could talk about something if they had a small committee, if they stay at 7, correct?
Well, yeah, and I mean, that's ultimately up to the members in terms of how comfortable they are, with the guidance that's been provided. If you base it on the full membership of the body, 3 members could talk because those 3 members cannot dictate the course of action for the body in the respect where all 7 members are present and voting on any particular item. You may have members that are not comfortable with that, and say, no, I'm not willing to take that risk, because, I don't want to get a call from the district attorney's office. They may not be, interested or willing to participate. And so what the proposed ordinance really does is just puts you in a position where, the recommendation to the members of that body are, you're good at 3 members or 2 members, because of the way that the numbers work. That puts them at ease a little bit in terms of what they're looking to do. And it allows the committee to hopefully function a little bit better, in the sense that you don't have members that then say, whoa, I'm not going to participate outside of the meeting, in the way that you're looking to have me participate.
So I would like you to tell us, does Mequon do this? Or some other municipality that you're working with that are that have increased their committees based on the negative quorum?
I can't think of any that
Okay.
have specifically.
Okay, so, the people, the 4 people that raised the question are from Economic Development Commission. So the ask was to please come to the Economic Development Commission, whether it's you or one of your associates, and please explain that to us. Can we do
That
that?
still doesn't do anything about the negative quorums. 2 people still can't talk if you leave it at 7. Doesn't matter. Right?
They can talk. They can
Not about
talk.
anything on EDC.
Not outside the meeting.
So.
Well,
Past,
and
even
I think
past,
it's important
not
to
on
recognize
the,
too that
is it on the agenda or past work that's been done? Is it everything?
well, again, there isn't necessarily anything wrong with talking either. certainly, I mean, even the case law acknowledges that the idea that, we sign these, slips of paper that say, hey, I want an item on the agenda. Well, that's two of you getting together potentially in violation of, your meeting thing, and the courts say, as long as you're not, as part of that discussion, saying, yeah, we agree that we're going to do X, that it's just, hey, should we put this on the agenda? Yeah, sounds good. There's no problem with that. It's the communications that ultimately dictate the course of action of the particular body that's an issue. The challenge with Economic Development Commission is that sometimes the decision of how the body is going to act, because it is that working committee and doing more hands-on things, sometimes it is just the act of talking amongst each other that is the action of the body. You take Operation Storefront, for example, where you're going to put together, database of this, the available storefront, it's contact information, who's going to reach out to these people, what are we going to do? That stuff is all ultimately the action of the committee that, the committee is looking to do. And so if you are, two members getting together and talking about that and doing that work, you potentially have a violation of the open meetings law because you're doing the business of the committee outside of a noticed meeting.
I see. I think it's okay.
And again,
So-
theoretical, admittedly, I mean.
This is a proposed ordinance. Let's just go back to what's the agenda item. It's a proposed ordinance which will have to be pushed to the village board. So it's just a recommendation from our committee right now, what to do with this.
And it's the only change is the number, correct?
Correct.
No other changes. Well, I made the motion a while ago, so.
Do we have a motion?
Yeah,
What?
I did. I made a motion.
That's right. Meg seconded, didn't she?
For discussion. Any
It's
other
a long
questions?
time ago, Rick.
Like a half hour ago.
Linsky, seconded by trustee Katz.
I'm gonna vote positively about this, and the one thing that I like about it is that you have a minimum committee now of 5. Period. So, yeah, if you don't fill it, you still have to have 5 people to run the meeting. And I think that's, sometimes that's not bad. Having 4 as a max is always a problem.
So we do have,
I'm sorry, as a minimum, not a maximum.
so we do have 7 members.
You have 7, but what I'm saying is you can run a meeting with 4.
Right,
When you have 9, you have to have 5
5.
to run the
right.
meeting. And that's an odd number. Always a better voting scheme. So, any further discussion? All right, all in favor of the ordinance change, say aye.
I,
Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
All right, motion goes with a positive recommendation, 3-1 to the village board. Thank you. All right, item D, a review of departmental expenses and revenues. This one was also for discussion. So I'll tell you what I talked about at least, with, President Soderberg and, Administrator Krecklow. And that is that, this was a request by Meg Cutts, and it's a good one. It's what is our budget per department, basically, for each one of the major departments. What's our budget? What's our revenues? What's our expenses? What's the overall total of those, so that we have better information when it comes to budgeting time. And they are working on that development, and we're looking at probably doing a couple every meeting. Does that make sense, Meg?
Mhm.
If we do that?
Yeah, I wouldn't want to do them all at one time because then you're rushing through. The point is to have this time now before budget to be prepared when the budget comes.
Great idea.
That could go hand in hand with the Tyler Munis reporting.
Yeah, we need that.
So, okay, we'll move on to item E, potential request for proposal for banking services. This was brought up by Jan Miller about maybe going out for RFP for our banking. It has been a while since we've had a difference in banks.
Mhm. My understanding is that RFPs should go up every 3 to 5 years, and we've done our investments, our advisory, and we didn't even take a look at the banking services, and banking services are important as well.
So I know a little bit about this, just because I was asked when we originally went through the process, to, select the way that we selected the current bank. Effectively, the state in this case is the one who does the RFP. We utilize the state contract for banking services. And what the state does is the state goes out might even be every year or every couple of years, where they go out and seek bids for all of the folks that look to do it and then negotiate contracts and say, this is what we can then offer. We see the same thing with vehicle programs, our squad cars in particular. Typically we get through that state contract that's there. And so the state is basically the one that's going out and doing the RFP to ensure that the prices, remain competitive and are as low as they can be. Now, that's not to say that we couldn't on our own do that process as well. And it's something that could be done. But
Do they select one banking organization, or do they recommend 2 or 3, or how does that work?
Yeah.
Here it says several.
Yeah, I think in the case of banking services, they've got contracts with a couple different banks because obviously not every bank has locations in every community. It's not unlike the vehicle purchase programs again, where you've got certain dealers that kind of deal with certain parts of the state and others deal with other parts of the state, and so there are different banks that are there. Who those banks are, that I don't know. That's probably more of a question for Matthew or for Steve. But there are a couple of those contracts that exist.
So I just have a question, and I don't know if you can answer it or not, but further down, there's a paragraph about if the desire is to support local financial institutions, there are alternatives to a full RFP, and we can selectively engage with local banks. Do you know anything about that you can give more information on that?
Sure. I mean, I think the suggestion there is just that we have lots of different accounts for different purposes, and if we wanted to look to utilize a more local institution instead of the big bad national bank that we currently use, that you could look to lean on those local institutions for particular accounts or for different purposes that kind of like we do with the the business revolving loan fund. That's something that they came to us with, admittedly, but that's a pretty good example of utilizing that local bank for something within the community. And you could do that with other banks. You could put certain funds, in other banks. You could look at, for example, just spitballing here, you could utilize a local bank for your tax collection purposes, which would give you the ability to maybe have something other than US Bank be the branch that people could go to pay their taxes, those types of things. So there's nothing that says all banking services need to be with one entity. You can split those up.
So currently, US Bank is local, it's in Germantown, but do they do all our banking currently, US Bank, or is there something else I'm not aware of?
As far as I know, they do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they do, at least in terms of the accounts that we would hold. Obviously they don't, they're not the only ones that have, our bonds, for example. There are, other institutions that own those and have those. But in terms of our traditional, kind of deposit accounts or checking accounts, if you will, I think US Bank does all of those currently.
Okay, and then Trustee Jan Miller, you brought this up, correct?
Right. I brought it up because I think since we did an RFP on those other financial entities, it's time to take a look. The other thing is we have and
Second, I did have a question for you. That's why I started there.
oh,
Just, I guess, what you were trying to accomplish, because most banks are going to be pretty similar in what you get. So I guess what are we hoping are you hoping to find out from doing an RFP to
I
find a
think
different institution?
we're trying to find out if the local banks will be as competitive, A. B, we have several local banks that support us, not only for uh, all of our festivals, they help us, they support Music in the Park or whatever, My Fest or Oktoberfest. They're the ones that are there supporting us. They're the ones that are doing fundraiser. They're the ones that are giving back to the community. And so I think that we should support them as well. And you know what? It might be easier having somebody local that you can try and build a relationship. I mean, we've got a lot of, there are a lot of banks in this town. Good.
Just like you had quoted the salt contract and various other things, how we buy vehicles, oftentimes it's through the state. They act as an association. They get better pricing on things, including banking. I see no reason to leave the status quo here and make more work for our staff. Because you're not going to give, if we want your direction, Jan, we're not going to give all our work to BMO. If you did, you're gonna tick off Waterbury, whatever it's called, and you know, all the other banks associated. I mean, it sounds like a nightmare to me. Whereas this is working, why would we want to fix something that isn't broken? Because the state can negotiate the best rates and the best cost to us. Why would I want to walk away from that?
This, that is not the only bank. My understanding is that's not the only bank that gets certified by the state, is it, Brian?
Yeah, I don't believe so. I don't know.
So
for sure,
there's a
but-
list
Yeah.
and we should be going, I mean, I just,
On the list.
Yeah, if there's a.
If there's a list, I
by the
wouldn't
state,
mind
that's
seeing the
fine,
list.
But you have to understand that there's a cost involved with
Yeah.
changing banks as well. It isn't just a straight, hey, we're gonna save all this money.
Mm-mm.
It's a lot of
well,
stuff.
if we don't do an,
You have to negotiate every year and every year.
not every year,
Well, you don't know that.
RFP
I would-
is
No,
every 3 to 5 years.
Not recommend going away from a state contract.
no, me either.
Well, there are other banks that do state contracts.
There are.
That's
Is
the
it-
point. An
What's the
RFP,
difference? That's fine. We can find out what the difference is in the state contracts, but Bank 59 is not a state contract bank. Or Westbury Bank is not a state contract bank. It's gonna be the large ones.
well, I think we should investigate.
Well, I think what we should leave it as, in March, let's get a list of all the banks that are under the state contract at least. Let's start there and find out where they're at. And then we can discuss further.
So quick question, if we do an RFP, is there a cost to us for doing the RFP or would they just submit information to us? If
Someone would
if
have
they
to draft the
require-
RFP, whether we can do that internally or not, I don't know.
Yeah, there's no fixed costs associated with it. Typically, it's just the staff time
Yeah.
to prepare the RFP, to vet the proposals when they come in, make recommendations, that kind of stuff, just for the RFP. And then obviously, if you choose to switch, there's, costs associated with that. Again, not typically fixed costs, but that, staff time of making all those changes.
All right, well, let's start there. Let's see what banks are available on the state contract. And then we can make further decision or more discussion on it.
Thank you.
Item F, approved contract for ball field fencing. Gil has been waiting.
Right.
Well, hopefully this will be an easy one for you. No, I don't need this.
You don't need a,
No.
do you want to show anything?
Uh-uh,
Okay,
not for this one.
okay.
That's it.
No, it's different.
Sorry about that. I'm asking this board to allow me to award the Kinderberg and Hofstrass fencing contract to Munson Fence Division. This will be paid out of capital land and park improvements 4059100059210. Basically, what this contract is will be furnishing and installing baseball netting above the existing home plate at Kinderberg. If you're familiar with Freistadt, no, forgive me, Friedenfeld and Hopstrasse, we have the netting system above and that's what I'm looking for at Kinderberg. The Warhawks baseball program has started using Kinderberg Field, and they have older kids. So hopefully the net will stop foul balls from going back in the playground and other areas. Also, what's covered in this contract will be Hopstrasse Park, repairing the outfield fence. If you've ever been to Hopstrasse, most of the fencing is anywhere from 6 inches to 2 feet above ground. Just over years, the posts have come up above the ground, and you can see concrete. Not only does it not stop balls, which at that age, not many of them hit them that far anyway, but I have seen kids crawl underneath that fence, and that is a worry to me. So I want to get that fixed. And so Munson Fence Division will put in a pole and replace all 23 line posts and terminal posts. And he'll bury the concrete 36 inches deep, and this will protect it from frost protection. And I did receive 3 bids to do the work. Munson Incorporated bid 28,542, Northway Fence bid 29,170, and Century Fence bid 31,505. And out of the capital improvement monies I was given for this year for 26, I estimated around 30,000 was to be for this fencing project. And so we'll come in about $1,500 below that.
Committee? Terry?
A question.
Yes.
I think we all received an email from a resident today who asked why we would want to redo Hauptstrasse fence, not knowing whether that ball field's going to be there in 2 years.
Well, and
Ball field's not part of the land swap.
that is
Not at
correct.
all, for sure?
No,
Okay,
that's how I was going to answer it. To my knowledge.
And I
ball
responded
fields-
to that individual.
did you? Okay.
That was my concern, is
Yeah,
spending
like
money
it's-
when we
Yeah,
don't know
whether the
what's
land swap
happening.
happens or not, the ball field is.
Will stay.
intact.
Okay.
Okay. Then let's get it done. I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? This is a budgeted item and it's within budget. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, with that, we'll go on to reports, accounts payable. Questions to staff are going to have to be via email. right now. Or a Teams meeting later this week. Anything on accounts payable?
Mm-mm.
Hopefully not. Item B, budget to actual.
I have several, but I'll have to email Matthew.
Okay. Anything on payroll? And contracts.
We really need that other version. It's easier to read.
Mhm. Yeah, we didn't
get it.
get our Excel copy this week.
Nothing on here really, other than curiosity, is if they've cleared up the old 24 ones that still had money on them. That's the only
Yeah,
thing.
that's a good question. Find out where we're at with that, clean that up.
2024, clean up.
Right. I did want to mention one more item when it comes to reporting. Jen also put in about we did have, when Aaron was here, we had a quarterly report
Yep.
on personnel. And my understanding is Gosha has not worked on that yet, but she does want to start working on that.
Okay, it's queued up.
Yeah.
That's great.
I thought it was one of those reports that you could pull a report from Tyler Munis again, but it sounds like there is a lot of manual intervention when it comes to
Right.
getting the staff, or I'm sorry, our retention information and our staffing information.
I
So a little
remember,
bit more labor intensive than I expected it to be.
remember Erin said that she had to go back to emails to get information.
Yeah,
It was, there should be.
I would think
it
though,
would be-
after 2 years on Tyler Munis, that it would be better or be easier
Would-
to get that.
Oh, I think we contracted with them in 21.
Mhm.
It's
Yeah,
2026.
I get it. I mean, we've been there a while.
Just so,
Okay, last one was the
presidents.
director's report. Anything that you want to discuss in there? Looks like tax collections are done as of, as far as the village is concerned. Now the county collects the rest of the taxes for the year if it's unpaid. 1099s, W-2s will be online soon. Or are they
Right.
already? They're all gone already, aren't they?
Yeah, they said,
I mean, look,
there were 388 or something like that, W-2s sent. The the key takeaways, this is the area that I had questions on. Total expenditures exceeded budget by 396,000. And then we had to, unbudgeted realized expenses was 144,000 for that flood. Is that included in the 396? And then,
that's a good question. I don't know.
Revenues, where are we getting? I mean, I think these are important things. Revenue, this is our budget. Where we exceeded the budget and then when we
Yeah.
earned revenues, where are we getting the 373,000 is significant. It's 1 point, I thought it was the last item on his report on the page 2, the bottom key takeaways.
Well, your 373 number is that overall revenue performance?
Right, but
So
it
we did
says it's
better than
exceeding,
budget.
right,
Yeah, I
But
think we'll get a better understanding as they start working
Where?
on the year end. He said the growth is primarily driven by license and permits and public charges for services, but didn't expound on that any.
right, there's no detail. I mean, if we're having, right, it's vague. It says services, what services, other expenses, I don't know what they are. I
Well,
would just like a detail because if we're creating extra revenues, why not, help those people that
A
are,
lot of times the revenues are offset by the expenses.
well, it
like they are.
certainly shows that
So the
here.
revenues, we might be bringing money in, but we're also expending.
That's what the
Oh,
last.
Because
oh,
of that.
what are they?
Well,
What department?
if in
What-
the year-end budget to actual, that's all in there. The license and permits were
But
165,000
what are the
over.
others?
That was 117%, so that was over budget. The other was miscellaneous revenues, so we would need to know what makes up that category.
Right,
That was 139%, so that's where your big overages are.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. Most of the
Could
time
be.
when you see overages in revenue, it's because of permitting. And if permitting's up, so are expenses because you have to inspect.
Mhm. Yep, that was 138,000 over budget permitting.
permitting?
Yeah,
Okay.
the expense portion was 138,000 over budget for inspection and permitting. Municipal development was 73,000 over. So those are my questions for Matthew.
Okay,
Okay,
all valid.
valid. So we're asking the same questions. So let me know the answers.
So tell them to email all of us.
Yeah, copy them all, copy us all. Okay. Do we have more?
So our next scheduled meeting would be the 16th, 4 weeks from now. That's okay with everyone? All right, we'll have it at 5:30. It might be a longer one. Maybe we'll start at 5. I don't know.
Oh,
We'll just talk.
Okay, we won't start it.
Trying to drag this one out.
All right, with that, we'll adjourn the meeting at 6:30.
Sing along.